A 1, 2, 3, and what's your favorite scary movie? Is it creepy? Is it groovy? Mashor! Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Mashor. I am so excited to be here today. We're going to be talking about my top 3 favorite horror TV shows, and I'm very excited. It's going to be the Ash vs. Evil Dead, Dragula, and Happy. And before we get started, I do want to start doing the tradition that I started last episode, the Final Guy and Girl Awards. So the Final Guy Award goes to Wesley Cornwell for recommending a Dark and Stormy. So I'm calling this one the John Carpenter Dark and Stormy. And my final Girl Award goes to a local bartender that actually drops off. So what she's been doing since COVID started is she does an ordering system that on Thursday through Sunday, she drops off drinks in LA, Orange County, and Ventura, I believe. And so it was really cool. She came to my apartment and dropped it off today. And her title is Stir Crazy Cocktails. And I will put her Instagram. So I got a spooky margarita, which I'll be drinking next week, and the Fig Dark and Stormy, which is for tonight. So I haven't tried it yet. I was so excited. So let's give it a go. And I added John Carpenter just because Fig Dark and Stormy just sounds like something out of a John Carpenter movie, you know, like The Fog or The Thing, just like spooks. So, okay, let's try it. Wow, that's actually so. That is fantastic. Okay, great. So, yeah, I'm excited that I get to support someone local while doing signature cocktails. So she's going to get a shout out the next two. And it's really cute. She brings them in little mason jars and gives you instructions. I'll put a photo right here. So here it looks. Here's what it looks like. It's so cool. So the first one I want to talk about is, of course, oh my gosh, it is going to be Ash vs. the Evil Dead. And I love this show. I actually started rewatching it when I thought about doing this in the episode. So this actually starts, and let's give a shout out. God, I always forget where I'm going. So I have, as you can see, I'm a really big fan of Evil Dead. I have the classic Evil Dead 2 scene, Evil Dead Ash figure, and I have Evil Ash from Army of Darkness, all the way under Mr. Wolfie over there. So yeah, I'm Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi are a pretty big deal in my life, and I love it. And so the show is based 30 years after Army of Darkness, and Ash, who's Bruce Campbell, basically reopened the book by getting really high with a chick and was like, reading a tattoo of hers that was in French. And he's like, well, what's even cooler is this book, and it's pretty fancy language. And so he, without realizing it, reopens Evil Dead and the Deadites. So, the classics are there. Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell as Ash. You get your boomstick. You get the 73 classic Delta 88 as his car, and it's groovy. It's just such a fun show. And then we have 2 new characters, Pablo and Kelly. So it's a really awesome show, and essentially 30 years from Army of Darkness, and you get the Deadites. And Lucy Lawless is in this, and she is perfection. She's kind of evil, trying to get the Necronomicon. Oh, I have a Necronomicon. That's kind of what's tucked under Alien over there. I totally forgot. I have so much of Evil Dead. And she wants to make a bunch of evil babies and take over the world, and she's just an awesome character. It is a fantastic show. It's 3 seasons. It's on Netflix. I can't recommend it enough. I mean, the humor and the scares are as good as Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. It just has that classic feel to it. And I know that they were ramping up for a 4th season to be wild. So I'm really disappointed. I have a feeling with everything kind of reviving right now, I do feel we're in the time frame to save the show. So I do want to really hope that there's a fourth season. But if all we get ever is the 3 seasons, it was perfection. It is so fantastic. And I learned a lot actually today when I was just kind of browsing through. So his brother, Ivan Remy, he co-wrote, I think, the pretty much the chunk of the show, at least the, the first season. And I looked him up because I was like, I had no idea his brother, outside of his other brother, I think it's Ted Remy, was even in Hollywood. And so this guy is a freaking surgeon here or locally down somewhere in Southern California. And then it says occasionally he comes to Hollywood and Los Angeles to direct and write. And it's like, what a life. He's like saving lives. He's on call as an emergency surgeon. And then he, teams up with his brothers to write Evil Dead. And Ted Remy, of course, is their brother who does acting. And okay, moving forward. So Ash vs. Evil Dead is just such a fun flash forward 30 years later into, the world of Ash. And he's just such a great anti-hero. I think that we all just, the second he attaches his chainsaw and he grabs his boomstick, it's just like game over after the first episode. And you just fall in love. And he's just such a great character. And I'm really glad they just took that direction in Evil Dead 2. And that's just kind of, the direction forever. And I truly think it's one of the only franchises outside. I don't like the remake, I will say that, but everything else, the first 3 movies to the show, it's perfect. I just think it's a fantastic show. And the gore is 100% there. They always joke that Sam Raimi brings buckets of blood onto set because that's how it's gonna go down, and it's gushing. It's just blood everywhere. It's fantastic. So A++++, my favorite horror TV show. And then the next one I wanted to talk about is Dragula. Oh my gosh. So I'm like upset at myself that COVID was the time I stumbled upon this show, because I had no idea how local Dragula was to LA, and I am so bummed I can't see shows right now, what I would give to like go to these shows. So I had no idea that there was horror drag. Like, I'm that, under a rock. And so it's the Boulet brothers. They're so clever, and it's a really fun reality TV show. And, the stakes are high, but even more so because the crux of it is when you hit elimination, I mean, they make their contestants push needles through their skin, which is crazy. They've had to jump out of planes. They've literally topped like any kind of fear. There are things where I'm like, I physically could not do that. I don't want to give anything away because I truly think that, it's deserved of you guys watching, and I don't want to spoil who wins anything. But needless to say, it is a fair assessment, and I do love all of the winners. They're fantastic. And I'm just so, again, I cannot wait for the floodgates to be open and things back to normal. I miss human interaction and that kind of stuff. And I miss going to shows so terribly, and man, if I knew of Dragula at any point before this year, it would have, it's so good. It's awesome. And I highly recommend it. The costumes are chef's kiss. Like, it's so impressive. It really is. And oh my gosh, that's why I did face masks for this show. It's like I had to do bare minimum to commit to my own hobby and passion. So this is it. And so I just love and appreciate those who are just truly artistic in that way and express themselves. And it's just so beautiful. And, I truly think that they make horror beautiful. Like, I do. I think that there is that edge of horror can be anything. So yes, 100% recommend Dragula. And again, 4th season I think is coming out. They just announced it last month, but they haven't announced when. So fingers crossed it's this year, and it'll be an amazing Christmas present, and it'll be on Amazon Prime. But the first 3 seasons are on Netflix. So go watch it. Okay, I don't know why I keep doing that. I need to stop doing that on episodes. Anyways, okay. And then The third show I wanted to talk about, I think, is one of the strongest shows. And I'm really sad that it got canceled after 2 seasons. But again, like Ash vs. Evil Dead, even more so with this one, I truly think there is room to save this show and make a third season. So, the third and final TV show I'm going to be talking about today that I highly recommend is Happy. And we have the graphic novel here. And this book follows an ex-cop, ex-detective, Nick Sachs, who in the show is played by Christopher Maloney. And it's like, dun dun, ba-da-da-ba-ba. Okay, I've known about Christopher Maloney, and I wasn't really into SVU or any of the shows, but I respected his career. And then this show came out, and now I'm obsessed with Christopher Maloney. And side note, he is also the voice of Commissioner Gordon in the new cartoon Harley Quinn, which is in the DCU, which is now defunct, and I think is going to HBO. But that show is fantastic too. So side note, the cartoon Harley Quinn, and Christopher Maloney is Commissioner Gordon, and he's like this he's basically Nick Sachs of this as Commissioner Gordon. And so just like him transitioning from Nick Sachs from Happy to Commissioner Gordon and Harley Quinn and just being like this drunk cop is just fantastic. So he's a forever amazing cop role. And we love Christopher Maloney in this house. And oh my gosh, Happy is just so whimsical and action-packed and gore. So the first season, like I said, is based 100% on the graphic novel. It's based during Christmas, and the bad guy is a homeless guy who is Santa Claus, and he kidnaps kids, and it kind of gets deep, and it kind of gets messed up. So it's like a whole thing tied into this like evil conglomerate of using the kids and sending them off for trafficking, which is it's tragic. So the underlying story is really, really tragic, but they do such a great they're really good at kind of making it whimsical, as weird as that sounds. So the premise is that a little girl who is Nick Sachs's daughter gets kidnapped, and he's estranged from her. He has no idea he even has a daughter. And her imaginary friend is named Happy, and he's voiced by Patton Oswalt. So you could tell it's already like whimsical and upbeat, and it's gonna be funny. So Happy goes to find her dad because he has heard so many stories from the mom of like how he was a cop and a hero and all this stuff. So he goes to find Nick Sachs to save his daughter, essentially. And Nick Sachs is like I said, not a retired, probably fired cop. He's drunk all the time, getting into fights. He's just this burly, I don't give a crap kind of individual, and, has seen too much in his life, understandably. And so he's just riddled with problems. And when he interacts with Happy, he thinks that it's a drug-induced like hallucination because he's in an ambulance, and you can't kill Nick Sachs. Like, that's another thing that's so fun about this is like he'll get shot multiple times. He like goes through the gambit, and he's still kicking. The casting is perfect. Everybody is so strong in this. The evil guys are incredible. And again, it's happy, it's sad, it's hilarious. It's just like constant. So they'll throw a jab at you of like, here's something real and gut punching, and then they're so good about making it funny, like spinning it and just keeping the story going. And I just highly recommend it. Seriously, all 3 shows I recommended today are just really fun and really, it just hits, it tickles everything. Oh, that's so weird. It just hits everything. So maybe I'll delete that. Yeah, I hope you all have a great weekend. Stay cool or warm wherever you are. For us, stay cool. It is 90s in October. Cannot believe it. Yeah, and just stay safe, and ta-ta. All right, have a great one.